making music, not just playing exercises, being in control of what you're doing. Do it, handle it. That's what we're going to do today. You're going to get it down, you're going to learn it, you're going to learn what I say, and you're going to live it. Before we can start, we got to make sure we're in tune, so I'm going to give you an A chord. All right, let's go. One thing I think you should all be able to do is hear a chord progression in your head without it being there and solo over it, and following the chords really strictly in your head is going to develop your mental ability to hear chords even if they're not there, and you really have to develop that so you can play in an ensemble or band situation, because the whole idea is to make your melodies work, you have to really care about what goes on under them, those being the chords or chord progressions that you're using. So what I want to do is, first I'm going to start with just holding an E note down, and I'm going to solo over it, and then you're going to hear the progression through my soloing. You're going to hear the chord progression. I'll play the chord progression that's in my mind first. What we're going to do is hold down an E, but I'm going to be playing along to a progression that sounds like this. I'm going to make it really obvious what chords I'm playing over by the soloing. So like you can almost hear the progression through the melodies that I'm playing, and make it really obvious to you what's going on here. Okay, so check it out. Okay, I was kind of arpeggiating a lot on there, and that's pretty much the easiest way to follow a chord, is to arpeggiate it. You really can't go wrong if you do that, because all the notes that are in the chord that you're following are there, and if you play correctly, you're going to wind up right. So now I'm going to try that same thing with the chords behind it, and you'll hear that it's basically the same kind of soloing going on. So the rhythm is like this. Okay, you're probably wondering what's going on through my mind, besides probably food or something like that, while I'm soloing like that. And you have to consciously think of the chords really hard that are happening under your soloing. And I'm going to give you some examples of what I might do over those three chords. You have to know what you want to do over the chords as they're playing. So the more you do this, the more you'll get a feel of, the process. But this is broken down what is actually going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold each chord. I only used 3 chords in this whole thing. It was E, D, and A. And since it's such a simple progression, I really want to make the differences of each chord stand out more, because they're so basic and they're so commonly heard together. the more I can emphasize the fact that it's a chord change in my soloing, the better it is, and the more unique and different it's going to sound. So let's see all the things that we can do over each chord. So what I might do to start out with is like arpeggiate something like an E major arpeggio, and that gives me a lot of room to figure out what to do. Okay, I'm also bearing in mind, you know, that there's a D coming up and there's an A coming up, so those are notes that are sort of a target note that I'm going to wind up hitting soon, you know. So if I keep that in mind as I'm playing the E chord, I'll be more prepared for the next chord that comes, which would be D. You can always be safe with an arpeggio of a chord, you know. Okay, and then the next chord that's coming up is A. So I did a lot of stuff around this position here. What I'm going to do now is like I'm going to kind of talk while the progression is going on. I'm going to explain where my target notes are as the chords are happening, and this is what's going on through my mind and what you should be sort of thinking of as the chords are flying by. So what I'm going to do is have the progression go by. I'll show you what's going on in my head. We'll do it really slow this time so we can get an idea of what's happening. Got to do something for E now. Right about now I start thinking of D. Give me a little break. The more I sustain, the more time I have to think about the next chord. Got to get to E. A tip is the longer you sustain on the notes, that's going to give you your time to breathe and your time to follow the next chord and not to give away the fact that you don't know what you're doing, okay? And basically that's what you're trying to do usually, is sound like you know what you're doing. And the more sustaining you do, you're giving yourself that chance. It's like if I'm holding E, oh, here comes D, I better get ready to follow it. So sometimes when you have a lack of ideas, you just got to slow down, and that's when you got the time to figure out what the chord is next and what you're going to do over it. And a lot of guys, you know, they think they got to be playing more, you know, but sometimes if you land on the right note at the right time, people are going to think you're a genius, you know. So just stopping is going to give you that option, you know. Wow, I got some time to think of what I'm going to do next. And the more you think, the better you're going to play. That should be a quote somewhere, you know. The more you think, the better you're going to play. Now I'm going to play over the progression kind of in a normal way, just staying in the key of E.